You know, life doesn't always fall apart in explosions. Sometimes it just unfolds. Like a note you didn't know was in your jacket pocket, only to open it and find the end of your world written in someone else's handwriting. It started on a Tuesday. Doorbell rings. 7:43 p.m. I remember the time because I just finished grading a batch of essays, my red pen still warm. Monica, my wife, she was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables like they owed her money. Rhythmical. Predictable. Just like her life. I opened the door to find a kid, tall, awkward, familiar in the way strangers aren't supposed to be. And this kid, he looks me dead in the eyes and says, "Mr. Keller? I'm your son." Now, I've taught high school physics for 20 years. I've seen excuses ranging from invisible ink homework to my dog had an existential crisis. But this knocked the breath out of my lungs in the quietest way imaginable. His name was Eli. Jessica Brenner's boy. Jessica, now there's a name I hadn't said out loud since sophomore year of college. We had a 3-week thing back when flannel shirts and bad poetry were currency. She never told me. Apparently, she tried. I had transferred schools before the message could land. Monica came to the door. Took one look at the scene, me, this 18-year-old, and a bombshell hanging in the air, and dropped her dish towel like it was wired to explode. "You're what?" she hissed. I tried to explain. I didn't know. Swear on everything. But there was this photograph. Me, Jessica, college smiles. And the dates lined up like a confession. 20 years of marriage, Monica whispered, and a son shows up at our doorstep? That sentence didn't need shouting. It broke things all on its own. Eli backed off. Said he wasn't here to cause trouble. Just wanted to meet his dad. Said his mother died last year. Her final wish? That he find me. That's the kind of sentence that sticks. He left. Monica didn't wait. Told me to pack a bag. Called her sister. Called her lawyer. I moved like someone unplugged me. I didn't cry. That's not my style. But that night, I checked into a Holiday Inn across town. Room 214. Eli's room. But I didn't go knocking. Not yet. I just sat there in the beige silence of my own undoing, phone in my hand. Wedding ring still on, staring at a message from Monica, "Please don't come back." No explosion. Just unraveling. But that was just the beginning. I didn't expect fireworks. This wasn't a messy scream or a slammed door kind of break. It was the slow, quiet kind. Like a faucet dripping steadily into a bucket that's already full. Monica didn't say much after that night, but her silence spoke volumes. She packed her things with that cold efficiency, like packing was a final statement. "I want you out in 30 minutes, she said once, voice sharp but flat, like she was reading from a script written years ago. We didn't argue. I didn't beg. I packed my bag, grabbed the last shreds of dignity, and walked out. Driving back to that motel, the city lights blurred, and my mind replayed the years. 20 years. 2 decades of Sunday dinners, birthdays, late-night talks, and compromises. And just like that, a whole lifetime crumbled like dry leaves. I kept asking myself, was it really cheating? Or was it just a side effect of years spent growing apart without saying a word? I mean, Eli's arrival wasn't just a bombshell. It was a mirror. A mirror showing the cracks beneath the surface I'd spent so long ignoring. When Monica finally broke, it wasn't with anger or tears. She just said, "You cheated. You have a son I never knew about." I tried to tell her, I didn't know. I swear. But it's funny how "I didn't know" is the worst kind of betrayal in a marriage. More than any secret, more than any lie. Because it means you never truly saw each other. She stopped listening, packed her bags, called her sister, then a lawyer. The war was declared with cold precision. No theatrics, just ice. And me? I sat in a cheap motel room, trying to piece together a future that suddenly looked like an unsolvable puzzle. A week passed. 7 days of instant coffee, motel shampoo, and the kind of silence that echoes louder than any fight. I didn't reach out to Monica. She didn't reach out to me. That was the real sentence. Not divorce papers. Not yelling. Just the quiet understanding that everything we had was officially classified as used to be. And then came the second punch. Her lawyer emailed me. Not a call. An email. Per Monica Keller's request, please arrange to collect any remaining personal items from the marital home this Saturday between 2 and 4 p.m. Marital home. That phrase tasted like dust. So I went. Saturday, 1:55 p.m. Parked in the same driveway I used to pull into every night after work with groceries or a surprise takeout bag. This time, I sat in my car like a stranger casing the place. She wasn't there when I walked in. Just a note on the counter that said, basement and closet. Her handwriting hadn't changed, but it might as well have been written by someone I never knew. I moved through the house like a ghost. My shoes didn't make a sound on the hardwood. Her perfume lingered in the air. That part hurt more than I expected. Not because I missed her, not really, but because it reminded me of a time when we used to touch without flinching. I grabbed my clothes, my books, the drawer full of receipts and tax junk, left the blender, took the French press, left the anniversary photos, took the one of me and my dad at the Grand Canyon. Funny what you think matters until you're forced to choose. Then I found it. In the nightstand drawer, under a stack of greeting cards and expired coupons, was a notebook. Not mine. Hers. Monica's neat cursive across the top. List of things I missed. I opened it. The entries started sweet. Our first trip to Maine. The way I used to bring her coffee in bed. The stupid way I hummed when brushing my teeth. Then they turned sharp. I miss feeling alive. I miss someone listening without waiting to talk. I miss laughing without forcing it. And then, in the margin, a single name scribbled and circled. K. That was it. Just a letter. But it was enough. I stood there for a long time, holding that notebook, realizing something heavy. While I was reeling from Eli's appearance, Monica had already stepped out of our marriage. Not physically, maybe, but emotionally? Spiritually? She'd been gone for months. And now? I had a list of everything she missed, just not me. You ever see a single letter and feel your whole world narrow down to a pinpoint? K. That's all it said in her notebook. One letter, circled, like it meant something. Or someone. And if you've ever been betrayed, you know that feeling, that sick, twisting certainty in your gut that this wasn't a mistake. It was a map, and I just found the starting point. I left the house with the notebook stuffed under my coat. Not to confront her, not yet. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a meltdown. No, I needed to know exactly what kind of mess I was standing in before I started wiping my boots off on the carpet. So I started small, quiet. Went home, back to the motel. Took out the old laptop, fired it up. My hands hovered over the keys like I was defusing a bomb. I searched our email. Not hers, mine. Cross-referenced names, checked group threads, RSVP lists, anything from book clubs, fundraisers, PDA meetings. And there he was. Kyle Harmon. Of course. The youth pastor turned real estate agent. Ran the local trivia night. Had a voice like a motivational podcast and a handshake that made you feel like a business opportunity. Monica had mentioned him in passing before. Kyle's running the neighborhood watch meeting this week, or Kyle said the new Mexican place has killer tacos. Nothing suspicious. Just enough to fly under the radar. Except now, I saw the pattern. He was everywhere. Photos from charity events. Mutual comments on Facebook posts. Group selfies where they stood just a little too close. Not touching, but not touching, you know? So I dug deeper. Monica hadn't changed her cloud password in years. And guess who still had the login saved in his keychain? Photos, messages, calendar events. And in one particularly incriminating shared album titled Spring Bloom Gala, there it was. Her in a dress I'd never seen before, navy, off-shoulder, with that silver necklace she told me she lost. Him in a blazer that screamed midlife reinvention. They weren't kissing, but her hand was on his chest, his on her waist. The kind of casual intimacy that only feels casual when it's familiar. The timestamps were recent, from 2 weeks before Eli showed up. 2 weeks before the night she kicked me out like an unwanted memory. That did it. Not the photos, not even the notebook. It was the timing. The realization that while I was unraveling from the inside, she'd already moved on to the sequel. So I made a plan. Not revenge. Not yet. That's not how I work. I don't throw punches in the dark. I draw the map first. Study the exits. Mark the cracks in the foundation. Then, and only then, do I light the match. Step 1 was Eli. I hadn't spoken to him since the motel parking lot. Figured the kid deserved better than to be caught in the blast radius of a marriage implosion. But now, he was the only person who hadn't lied to me. So I called him. Hey, Eli? It's Adam. A pause. Then his voice, cautious. Hey, everything okay? Can we meet? Sure. Same place? Yeah. Room 214. When he opened the door, he looked like he hadn't slept either. Same eyes as Jessica. That calm, wary intelligence that watched everything and gave nothing away. I'm sorry about what happened, he said quietly. I didn't mean to cause. You didn't, I cut in. You didn't cause anything. You revealed it. He blinked, nodded slowly. Thanks for saying that. We sat on the edge of the bed like two people trying not to disturb a sleeping animal. I told him the whole thing. The letter, the name, the photos. Didn't sugarcoat it. Didn't dramatize it. And he didn't flinch. Just listened. Which, ironically, made him the most honest relationship I had in my life at that moment. You know, he said, after a while, my mom once told me, people don't cheat because they find someone better. They cheat because they stop recognizing themselves in you. I didn't respond right away. Because that sentence, that one cut deeper than anything Monica ever said. Sounds like your mom was smarter than I gave her credit for. I finally muttered. She was, he said, too smart for a guy like me. I added, and we both smiled, just a little. When I left the motel, I didn't feel lighter. But I felt clearer. Kyle Harmon. That was the name. That was the target. And if there's one thing a high school physics teacher knows, it's leverage. So I started collecting. Every interaction. Every tagged photo. Every committee meeting they attended together. I went digital detective on him. Background check. Business filings. Mortgage records. His brokerage website. Yelp reviews. Facebook friends. Then I hit gold. Kyle was married. Of course he was. Her name was Sharon. 2 kids. Churchgoer. PTA president. And from the look of her Pinterest boards, very into home decor and Bible verses framed in rustic wood. I bookmarked everything. Every detail. Every smiling photo of Kyle and Sharon playing happy family while my marriage was being siphoned away through brunch meetings and flirty emails. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it all. Not yet. But the pieces were moving. Quietly. Precisely. Because the thing about betrayal is, it's not always loud. Sometimes, it moves like smoke, creeping under doors, slipping through cracks, staying invisible until you light the match. And when you do, well, some houses were never meant to survive the fire. I've never been one for revenge. Not the old-school, movie-style kind with car chases and monologues. But when someone rewrites your life without asking permission, when they decide you're a side character in a story you built from scratch, something changes. It's not rage. It's not grief. It's clarity. And I was starting to see the whole picture. After that meeting with Eli, I drove. Nowhere special. Just around the edges of town. Past the high school. Past the park where Monica and I used to pretend we were still dating. Past the community center where Kyle's face was still on the neighborhood spotlight, board with a quote that said, "Building stronger homes starts with trust." Trust. If irony were a currency, I'd be a millionaire. I didn't go home. There wasn't a home to go back to. Just the motel room with beige walls and a complimentary breakfast that tasted like dry resignation. Instead, I pulled into the parking lot of Kyle's real estate office. Closed for the day. Good. I just needed to see it. The front window had his name in cursive font, professionally stenciled across the glass. Harmon Realty Group. Family-owned, community-driven. It was almost funny. I stood there under the dim security light, hands in my pockets, thinking about how many families he's helped build, while quietly pulling mine apart like drywall. But I wasn't here to vandalize anything. That wasn't the plan. The plan required patience. Timing. I went back to the motel, opened my laptop, and started a new document. I titled it, Kyle Harmon, Community Leader. I listed everything. Dates. Photos. Quotes from his Facebook posts about honesty and commitment. Screenshots of Monica's messages and calendar events. Public check-ins. Every coincidence suddenly wasn't. The man left breadcrumbs like he thought no one would ever follow. Then I opened Sharon Harmon's Instagram. She posted often, mostly crafts, home projects, and occasionally, selfies with Kyle at date night. The last one was a month ago. Captions like, "Still my best friend," and 14 years and counting. I stared at those words and felt nothing. That surprised me. I thought I'd feel vindicated or angry, but all I felt was how familiar her smile looked. It was the same one Monica wore when people were watching. The performance smile. The version that made everyone else feel comfortable while the real version curled up in a corner, unheard. They were the same. Sharon and me. Background characters in their partner's new show. So I did something I didn't expect. I wrote her a letter. Not to threaten. Not to gloat. Just the truth. "Dear Sharon," I began. "I'm writing to you not as a stranger, but as someone who's been watching the same movie from a different seat." I told her everything. How I discovered the photos. The notebook. The shared events. No accusations. Just facts. I didn't sign my name at the bottom. Just left a phone number and a line that said, "If you want proof, I'll show you." I mailed it. Next morning, I set up an anonymous email and sent the same file I'd made, photos, logs, dates, to the HOA president. Then another to the head of the church where Kyle volunteered on Sundays. I didn't do it to cause chaos. I did it to introduce light to the shadows. People like Kyle operate in quiet corners. They thrive on benefit of the doubt. I just pulled the curtain back. By noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this the person who sent me that letter? Her voice was shaking, controlled, like a dam holding back a flood. Yes, I said. Calm, clear. She paused. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. But it's true. I wish it wasn't. Silence. Thank you, she said finally, her voice cracking. I thought I was going crazy. And that's when it hit me. It wasn't about revenge. It was about the truth. About giving someone else a chance to stop doubting their own instincts before they drowned in them. She didn't ask for the rest. I didn't offer it. We hung up. No drama. No promises. Just two people, on either end of a betrayal, quietly acknowledging the storm. The next day, Kyle's Facebook profile disappeared. So did Monica's. And at 7:12 p.m., I got a text. From Monica. Did you do this? I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Did you? No response. Not for hours. Then, you're trying to ruin me. I didn't reply. Because here's the thing. I wasn't trying to ruin her. I was simply choosing not to protect the illusion anymore. She built the house of cards. I just stopped guarding it. Later that night, I went back to the house. Not to fight. Not to scream. I just needed one more thing from the basement. A box I hadn't had the heart to dig out earlier. It was labeled old stuff, high school yearbooks, letters, some CDs from when that still meant something. And in the bottom of the box, a photo. Me and Monica on our wedding day. Before the disappointment. Before the silence. Before Kay. We looked like people. Real ones. I put the photo back, locked the door behind me, and walked away. The plan was still unfolding. Slowly. Quietly. But the first domino had already fallen. Not out of vengeance, but because some fires deserve to be lit. Especially when someone forgets how much damage silence can do. There's this moment when a structure starts to collapse, not the full cave-in, not the dramatic toppling, just that eerie groan. The warning sound. Like the walls themselves are reconsidering their loyalty. That's where Monica and Kyle were now. Not ruined. Not wrecked. Just creaking. Sharon's call hadn't caused an explosion. It caused movement. Silent, invisible, but I could feel it. Kyle's business socials went dark. His calendar cleared. His name disappeared from the weekly neighborhood newsletter like someone pulled the plug on his public persona. And Monica? She was silent. For 3 days. No texts. No calls. Not even her signature drive-by guilt trip, hope you're okay, ping. Just digital dust and tension. So I waited. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I wanted to see who they'd become when they thought no one was clapping anymore. On the 4th day, Monica broke. She showed up. No knock. Just her silhouette through the frosted motel glass, standing there like some ghost of suburban ambition. I opened the door, and there she was, coat too nice for the weather, makeup done with surgical precision. Like she was still trying to win an award for pretending everything was fine. Can we talk? She asked. I stepped aside. Didn't offer coffee. Didn't fake a smile. She sat on the edge of the bed, exactly where I had when I learned about Eli. I stood. She looked around the room like it offended her. This is where you've been staying? Yep, I said. It's got 4 walls, honesty, and a breakfast bar. So already an upgrade. She didn't laugh. She was still calculating. What did you send to Sharon? Nothing she didn't already feel. Monica winced at that, like I'd swung a crowbar instead of a sentence. You had no right, she said. You didn't even ask me. Oh, I didn't ask. I raised an eyebrow. You mean the way you asked me before erasing our marriage with a guy who sells starter homes and wears boat shoes to town halls? Her mouth opened, then closed, like she hadn't planned past the accusation. This isn't like you, she said finally. You're quiet. Reasonable. No, I said, I was. That's what made this so easy for you. She looked away. I leaned against the dresser, arms crossed. What did you come here for, Monica? Closure? Redemption? Or did Kyle start sweating now that his entire reputation's held together by one home-good-scented marriage? Her eyes flared. You think I left you for Kyle? I paused. Didn't you? Her voice dropped. I left you because I didn't recognize myself anymore. Not because of him. I chuckled. Dry? Hollow. No, you left because you did recognize yourself. And you didn't like who you'd become next to me. She didn't deny it. That's the thing about Monica. She never lied outright. She just let omission do the heavy lifting. So what now? I asked. She looked up. I don't know. Then here's what I know, I said, stepping forward. I gave you 20 years. Not perfect ones, but consistent, faithful. I lost sleep for you, canceled trips for you, built a life around you. I never asked you to. No, I said. You never had to. That's what made it love. Silence. And then she stood, picked up her purse, looked around one last time. You're not the man I married anymore. Good, I said. Because the man you married didn't know what betrayal sounded like whispered through a locked bathroom door. She left, just like that. The door clicked shut with the kind of softness that makes things feel permanent. And me? I didn't cry, didn't scream. I sat down, turned on the lamp, and opened the file labeled Kyle Harmon, Part 2. Because the truth is, I wasn't done. See, Kyle didn't just cheat with my wife. He paraded through a community built on illusion. He sold homes with one hand and dismantled others with the other. And that kind of hypocrisy? It deserved sunlight. I uploaded the file. Anonymous tip. Local news blog. The kind that thrives on quiet scandals with loud consequences. They didn't need to know it was me. They just needed to know the story was real. Because Kyle wasn't just cheating. He was advertising trust while breaking it like a cheap hinge behind closed doors. Within 24 hours, the article went live. Prominent realtor tied to alleged affair with married resident. Community demands answers. The fallout was instant. Monica stopped posting on social media. Sharon disabled her comments. Kyle had a statement. The usual. Deeply personal matter. Ask for privacy. Focus on rebuilding. But the real gold was in the comments. Not surprised. He always gave me the creeps. I saw them at that gala. She wasn't his wife. And that's when I knew. The dominoes were no longer just wobbling. They were falling. And me? I slept. For the first time in weeks, I actually slept. No TV. No white noise. Just the quiet hum of justice moving through the vents. Because this wasn't just revenge. This was recognition. They had their fun. They played the game. They thought I'd be the good little husband. Fold my socks, water the plants, smile at barbecues while they stole my life in installments. But I didn't rage. I just stood up. And that silence? It was louder than anything they'd ever screamed. There's a strange kind of peace in watching people trip over their own lies. Not because you wanted to hurt them, but because, deep down, they never expected you'd stay standing long enough to see it. After the article dropped, I didn't reach out. Not to Monica. Not to Eli. Not even to Sharon. I just watched. Kyle's business took the first hit. His name was removed from 3 real estate listings by Tuesday. The community center pulled his volunteer badge, pending review. And the PDA newsletter? A delightful little addendum at the bottom. Due to recent developments, Kyle Harmon has stepped down from his role in the fall fundraiser. We wish him clarity in this difficult time. Clarity. That was generous. Monica, meanwhile, did what she always did when cornered. She spun a new narrative. She was evaluating what she really wanted. She was taking time to rediscover herself. Her sister posted some vague nonsense about boundaries and healing after betrayal, which was hilarious, considering the real betrayal was probably sipping wine at their last brunch together. But that's the thing about people who lie well. They don't stop when they're caught. They just change the story, shift the lighting, edit the script. Monica wasn't grieving. She was rebranding. But here's the twist. The new version of her wasn't selling. At the grocery store, she got those looks. The ones people give when they recognize the face but can't quite place where they know it from, until they do. And then they look away. Fast. Like shame might be contagious. Her friend's circle shrank faster than a wool sweater in a hot dryer. Turns out, people don't like being lied to. Especially not by the woman who used to lead the Gratitude Journal Club. And me? I was quieter than ever. But not passive. Because now, the silence was power. I started running again. First around the block, then further. I shaved the beard I grew during the motel days. Got a haircut from an actual barber instead of the $9 chain shop Monica used to insist on, because coupons are sexy. I wasn't rebuilding. I was reclaiming. And that's when Eli called. Not texted, called. A rarity in the age of thumbs and red receipts. Hey, he said. Mind if we talk? I paused. Then, you okay? Yeah. Just, things are weird. Can we meet? I agreed. This time, not the motel. We met at a diner off the highway, the kind with red vinyl booths and laminated menus older than either of us. He looked tired, not in the teenage finals week kind of way, but the kind of tired that settles in your bones when you realize adults are just children with more complicated lives. Monica reached out, he said. I stirred my coffee. I'm sure she did. She wanted to meet. Said she wanted to understand me better. Build something, maybe. Did she mention that she kicked me out before she even learned your middle name? No, he said. She just talked about how things got complicated, how people change. I snorted. People don't change. They just stop pretending. He looked down, then back up. I didn't go. That surprised me. Why not? Because I didn't want to be used as a redemption arc in someone else's story. I wanted to know you first. For a moment, I had no words. I just nodded. Then he pulled something out of his backpack. A photo. Me and Jessica, young, stupid, happy. Probably taken by a dorm mate too stoned to frame it properly. She kept this by her bed, he said. Until the day she died. I looked at it. Really looked. My arm around her shoulder. Her smile too wide for someone with that much student loan debt. We didn't know anything, but we felt everything. She said you had a good heart, Eli said. I exhaled. She was kind, but wrong. No, he replied. She said you had a good heart, not a perfect one. There was a long pause, long enough for the waitress to refill our mugs twice. Then he asked, so what happens now? I shrugged. Whatever we want. And that was the truth. Monica had been the architect of my past, but she didn't get to draft the blueprints for my future. Eli and I talked for 2 more hours. Not just about the mess, but music, sports, college plans. He wanted to study architecture. Said it felt like building things that stay up. I smiled at that. When I got home, to the little rental I was now calling mine, I found an envelope taped to the door. Monica's handwriting. Fancy. Dramatic. Inside, a single piece of paper. Let's talk. No drama. No blame. Just us. I stared at it for a long time. Then I folded it once, clean and crisp, and dropped it in the trash. Because I'd already had that conversation. I just didn't say it out loud. She'd made her choice. And now I was making mine. No drama. No blame. Just done. You'd think the day of your anniversary would sting after everything. But it didn't. Not in the traditional sense. No sharp pangs, no teary drives past the old restaurant, no midnight voicemail tirades. Just silence. Like the calendar forgot on purpose. I woke up that morning and didn't feel married. Not bitter. Not grieving. Just not hers anymore. So I did something wild. I went to the bakery Monica loved, the one where they used to pipe happy anniversary in cursive frosting like it meant something eternal. I bought a cupcake. Just one. Red velvet. Her favorite. The cashier asked, anything written on top? I nodded. Yeah, right. To freedom. She blinked. You want that on a cupcake? Yeah, I said. Small font. Big meaning. I ate it at a park bench across from City Hall, where Kyle's charity banner had been replaced by a notice about pothole funding. Poetic. That night, I got another message. Monica again. Just one line. I don't know how to fix this. That was the first honest thing she'd said in months. But honesty isn't a key when the door's already burned down. Kyle resurfaced 3 weeks later. He posted a video, some apology montage with sad piano music and carefully rehearsed tears. To those I've disappointed, he said, I want you to know I'm working every day to be better. The comments were brutal. You can't sell character like a condo, Kyle. One said, your open house was Monica's living room. My personal favorite, maybe start by apologizing to your own wife. Sharon had filed for divorce by then. Word spread. She'd taken the kids and moved 2 counties over. Quietly. Efficiently. The way strong people do when they're done being lied to. And Monica? She went quiet again. Deleted Instagram. Changed her LinkedIn status to consulting. Whatever that means. She hadn't seen Kyle since the fallout. She mentioned that in her last voicemail. But that's the thing about consequences, they don't care if you regret it. They just keep arriving. And me? I moved into a small house with peeling paint and creaky floors. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I painted the walls myself, picked out mismatched furniture, left the blinds open so the light came in crooked and honest. That's how I wanted my new life, imperfect, but true. Let's be clear, I never became violent, but I did something that felt like vengeance, something that Monica and Kyle couldn't scrub off with PR campaigns or regret. I wrote, not a blog, not a tweet thread, A book. About betrayal. About silence. About being the man who always took the high road until he realized the high road leads nowhere if no one else is walking it with you. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. The details were disguised, but the truth bled through every page. I titled it, The Folded Sock Theory, a nod to the insult Monica once said behind my back, that I was too predictable, too neat, a sock folder. But guess what? The man who folds his socks knows how to build, how to plan, how to endure. The book took off. Local press, then national. I didn't go viral. I went real, steady, respected. One night, months later, I was doing a reading at a small bookstore when I saw her in the back. Monica. No makeup. Just eyes that carried a weight I didn't envy. She didn't approach. Just watched. And when I finished the last line, sometimes, walking away isn't cowardice. Sometimes, it's the bravest thing you'll ever do, she slipped out before the applause stopped. That was the last time I saw her. The past didn't disappear, but it stopped driving. I was free. Not in the dramatic, fire your boss, sell your stuff way. In the quiet, everyday way. I woke up. I made coffee. I stretched. I read. No tension in the air. No guessing games. No waiting for a voice to change mid-sentence and tell me who I'd lost this time. Some people get revenge. I got peace. And believe me, it hits harder.